I say this as someone who spent many, many years in college. Total waste, of course. Two colleges, in fact. One of them was photography school, the other one was University of Kentucky. Um, as society becomes more polarized, there is always an inevitable snap. I don't know how close we are to things snapping, but not too far from it, at least in the United States. College corruption. Um, Used to be that colleges were places of higher learning, and they're not. They're about places for making money to an extremely large extent. And wanted to quickly, and I read every comment that people post, believe it or not. Wanted to know what your thoughts were on college corruption. But these kids, I sound like an old guy, right? But even back in the day when people would become doctors or lawyers or mechanical engineers, I mean, they actually got something of value. About 80% of people that go to college currently would be way better off financially and emotionally and otherwise if they went to a trade school. They do a lot of that in Germany and Finland and some other countries, and I wish it would be that way in the United States. But we actually have this brainwashed propaganda in the United States that when you're in high school and college, you know, your dream is supposed to be if you go to college, you can learn something important and get a higher education, which is total nonsense, and get a better job. And that's not true at all. It's still partially true if you want to become a doctor or an engineer. But these kids that get degrees in social sciences and they realize that they're deeply in debt and they didn't learn anything and nobody values their skills because they don't. These are not real-world applicable things that people want or that people pay for. By and large, I mean like 95%. I mean, these kids come out brainwashed. You know, they're told they need to go into college. They rack up huge debt. They learn nothing. They can't do anything. They can't build anything. They can't fix anything. And then they find out that the real world, they just don't value these higher educational skills that they were brainwashed into believing that they needed. They become a drone class. They become a class unto themselves, and they become angry when they find out they have an enormous amount of debt and that they wasted a great deal of their life and that nobody values their skills and no one's interested in giving them, you know, like a high-paying job. Like, I got a college degree. So what? This guy doesn't have a college degree and he knows 10 times more than you do. He trained on the job. He basically worked for free or nearly for free for a few years. He didn't go to college. He can do the job 100 times better than you with your college degree because you don't know anything. You got a piece of paper. Papers are for dogs, by the way. They're not for humans. Education is totally different than intelligence, and it's totally different, twice removed from wisdom. These are the people that, and they also, too, they've been so propagandized in their mental machinations and indoctrinated with nonsense. These are the same people that love hardwood floors but don't want to cut down trees to make hardwood floors. They don't realize, too, that like forests are a renewable resource. I love trees, by the way. I don't like cutting down trees either, but, you know, the type of trees that are harvested in the Northwest, for example, those are a renewable resource. They always have been for well over 100 years now. These people can't do anything. They can't build anything. They don't even know where their own food comes from. These are the same people that are screaming, defund the popo. And I think you know what popo is slang for. I mean, he said, get rid of the cops. But these are the same people, the very same people who are the first to dial 911 on the phone when, you know, the poop hits the fan. The one word that actually describes them is infantile. Infantile describes them to a T. They're unsophisticated, they're unintelligent, and they have an incredibly overinflated value of themselves. I've got a college degree. So, who cares? Show me what you could do. Show me that you have some value. They don't. 9 times out of 10, they don't. Well, 99 times out of 100, they don't. Education is not sophistication. And education is not intelligence. And it's absolutely not wisdom. Here's an example. This is a real example of like a millennial, college-educated millennial. Once again, I spent many years in college, okay? So, millennial says, I don't know why farmers work so hard planting crops when you could just get it quickly and cheaply at the grocery store. What a complete and total disconnect. The one thing that also, too, in addition to infantile, that describes these people that have been so indoctrinated, is that they have mental atrophy. They're helpless. Not only are they infantile in so far as being emotional rather than logical and intelligent, they cannot use inductive reasoning. They're illogical and they're emotional. Emotional is always contrary to what is logical. They can't decipher, they have no ability to spontaneously thought genesis up problem solving. They lack the skills that are completely absent in memorization. I mean, here's one of my favorite books of all time. And this is an example like what you would get in college, not that they teach this book in college. I mean, they would go home and they were to memorize this stuff so they could pass the test. And that's all college is about passing tests and showing. A lot of time you don't even have to show up. It's like, read this, we're going to have a multiple guess test. They have no idea what this says. And that is no different than the sort of fanaticism that you see in various religious groups where someone would memorize the text but has no idea what it says. Like, I've memorized the Holy Scripture. Do you know what it means? No. Do you know what it says? No. Do you know what the implications are? No. Do you know what it's telling you? Or instructing? No, no idea. I memorized it, though. This was clear definition of education versus intelligence. Right now, humanity, especially the United States, and Europe to a great extent too, is seeing the fruits of these seeds. And the seeds are dark seeds that warp people's minds and turn them against their neighbors. I'm seeing so much horrific polarization and absolute insanity. People that other people look up to. And these people that people look up to they're the most intellectually unimpressive people on earth. I mean, politicians have always been famously stupid and ignorant. Not always, but like the founding fathers. Even if you hate the United States, which I don't give a darn if you do or not, even if you do, don't care. Do not care, and this is not about politics. I don't care what system you like, one way or the other, but, the intelligence of, like, George Washington and Thomas Jefferson and Alexander and these were well-read people. By the way, the stuff that they read, I mean, they did read Thomas Paine, and they did read a lot of stuff. They read an awful lot of Plato and Aristotle, and they were really men. Benjamin Franklin, these were learned men of knowledge. And these people don't exist anymore. It's like when you run across an intelligent person, they're like an abnormal alien oddity. It's like, wow, you're like knowing stuff. This is literally like out of the movie Idiocracy. Everybody should see that movie. It's hilarious. I think it was made in the mid-'80s. It predicts current society so perfectly. Everybody should see the movie Idiocracy. This is no exaggeration, it's literally become uncool and not cool at all, uncool, not cool, to know stuff. It's like, wow, man, you're like knowing stuff. That's not cool, man. He's like, you can't laud unintelligence as a admirable feature and society carry on much further. It just won't happen. It can happen. You know, it's literally like the movie Idiocracy, where everybody's feeding. I wonder why the plants are all dead, because they're feeding plants Brondo. It's got what plants crave, electrolyte. They're basically feeding plants the future version of Gatorade, and I wonder why the plants won't grow. It's like humans love it, plants must love it too. People are literally like becoming the society of the movie Idiocracy, which everybody should see. Everybody. This is the most prophetic movie ever made. In the future, people get their college degrees at Costco. Recently, I've been making some leather stuff on this leather sewing machine. Nobody has skills anymore to make stuff. It's like if you want something, you can't fix it. You gotta, you go to Walmart and buy a plastic knockoff copy, made in, overseas, and it doesn't last long. It's junk. Nobody makes. Americans don't. I mean, a very few, but not like Americans just don't make anything anymore. Europeans are almost as guilty of this as Americans. Just lazy. Now, I'm fat and lazy to a certain extent. Obviously, I'm fat. Don't get enough exercise. But God, I mean, at least I know how to make stuff and fix stuff and build stuff. Humanity will not carry on much further down this path. 90% of people that go to college should have gone to a trade school. You need to learn how to do stuff, build stuff, fix stuff. It enriches your life. I'm not against true academia, and I use the word true academia. But academia today is nothing other than propaganda and mutually assured destruction of peer-reviewed nonsense where everybody's agreeing with everybody else's nonsense, and there's no free thought, no spontaneous thought, no original thought. It's just regurgitated nonsense. That's what passes as academia today. True academia is genuine understanding and, research, which almost doesn't exist anymore. I mean, it does, but largely it does not. These colleges are nothing other than money mills to squeeze people out of their money. Put them in debt for the rest of their life. They get out of college, they find they're in debt, and they have no skills, and nobody values these ridiculous skills that they were taught. I have a degree in sociology. I'm an English major. Good. Nobody wants you. Your skills are useless. I'm a big lover of, I love reading Shakespeare. Not that I have time for it anymore. Huge lover of English, but I mean, I'll be the first to tell you that these skills are not desirable, by and large. By that I mean 99%, so. Anyway, things are not headed in a good direction, and they're going to get way, way worse before they get better. I hope that's not, I know it's going to happen, so. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.